In this video, I'll be talking about 10 incredible games that truly deserve the Game of the Year award. Of course, everyone has their own favorites, so it's impossible to please everyone. But hey, this is just my honest opinion, and honestly, it's a great excuse to talk about these games again. So, let's dive into some truly outstanding titles. Uncharted 4. Alright, let's talk about Uncharted 4, because honestly, how did this not win Game of the Year? It's got everything action, emotion, and just a ton of fun. This was the game that really wrapped up Nathan Drake's story, and they did it right. It wasn't just about treasure hunting and explosions, though there's plenty of that. This one actually hit you in the feels, especially with how they explored Nate's relationship with his brother Sam. It made him feel more real, you know? Like, for once, it wasn't just about adventure, it was personal.
Are you alright? Just another day at the office. Come on. Hey, whoa.
The pacing of the game is what really stood out to me. You've got these big, intense moments like that insane car chase where you're literally getting dragged through the mud crazy, right? But then they balance it with these quiet moments like Nate and Elena just chilling, talking about life. It wasn't just about one action scene after another, and that's what made it feel different.
Yes? At least you got to go for a swim. Did you find any exciting garbage?
Oh,
And the environment, gorgeous. Like, you want to just stop and take in the views. But it's not just about looks. The level design was smart. The climbing, the puzzles, the combat, they all felt more polished this time around. Plus, the grappling hook added a fun new way to get around without being overused. Uncharted 4 might not have grabbed that GOTY title, but it sure felt like it deserved it. It was the total package, fun, heartfelt, and a perfect ending for Nate's story. Definitely one of the best I've played, no question. It's wild to think that Overwatch beat Uncharted 4 for Game of the Year in 2016. Don't get me wrong, Overwatch is great and brought something fresh with team-based shooters, but man, Uncharted 4 was on a whole different level. I mean, Overwatch has no real story, it's all about multiplayer chaos, but Uncharted 4, that game gave us one of the most emotionally packed narratives in gaming history. How do you compare a game that's all about fast, team-based action to something like Uncharted 4, which nails both massive set pieces and character depth? You're not just blowing stuff up, you actually care about what happens to Nate, Elena, and Sam. It's like comparing a blockbuster action movie to a game that makes you feel invested in every single character. It's crazy that a game as polished and complete as Uncharted 4 didn't walk away with GOTY. Like, yeah, Overwatch is fun, but how does a multiplayer-only game with no story edge out something this good?
handshake? We're in it for the real thing, sister.
If we're talking about long-term impact, sure, Overwatch became a big deal, but Uncharted 4? That's the kind of game people still talk about years later, not just for the gameplay, but for how it wrapped up such an iconic character story.
So, have you been here long?
On the island? A few hours.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Other people, finally.
How Red Dead Redemption 2 didn't snag Game of the Year in 2018 is still mind-blowing. God of War winning was great, but RDR2, that game is a masterpiece, plain and simple. It's not just a game, it's an experience. Rockstar built this massive living world where you can get lost for hours, and it's not even about the main story half the time. You're hunting, playing poker, robbing trains, or just soaking in the atmosphere of the Wild West. But what really sets Red Dead 2 apart is how it handles its narrative. Arthur Morgan's story is so well done, you feel like you're living every moment with him. By the time you hit the ending, you're fully invested in this guy's life, his regrets, and the choices he has to make.
Go through a lot of food in this camp.
The writing and character development, top notch. You actually feel for Arthur and the gang, even when things go sideways. And let's not forget about the details. The world is insanely well crafted, right down to how your horse interacts with the terrain or how Arthur's beard grows over time. Rockstar didn't just build a world, they made it feel alive. It's the kind of game where you can spend 20 minutes just staring at a sunset or watching the wildlife, and it's all so immersive. How God of War managed to win over this is wild. Sure, God of War has a great father-son dynamic and tight gameplay, but RDR2 felt like it redefined what an open-world game could be. It's slower, sure, but that's the point. It makes you live in its world, and it's worth every second. Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima deserved to be Game of the Year because it took the open world formula and made it feel fresh again. It wasn't just another game where you check boxes on a map, it was a world that pulled you in with its sheer beauty and attention to detail. The use of the wind instead of a traditional map marker was a simple but brilliant touch, keeping you immersed in the world rather than looking at menus. The combat is where Ghost of Tsushima truly shines. Whether you're facing enemies head-on in intense samurai duels or taking a stealthier Ghost approach, every fight felt personal. The way the game pushes you to choose between the honorable samurai path and the more pragmatic but dishonorable Ghost tactics makes for a gameplay experience that has real weight. Jin's story is another reason why this game stood out. It's not just about one man's quest for vengeance, it's about a warrior struggling with tradition, honor, and the future of his people. The emotional weight of Jin's decisions hits hard, especially as the game unfolds, and you see the consequences of his actions. Beyond the story, Ghost of Tsushima is just a joy to play. Every location feels distinct with some of the most beautiful landscapes ever seen in a game. The duels feel like classic samurai films come to life, and the soundtrack only amplifies that feeling. It's a game that nails both gameplay and atmosphere in a way that few others do.
You lived your life in a castle. It made you soft.
Marvel Spider-Man 2. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 deserved a Game of the Year nod because it takes everything that was great about the first game and cranks it up to 11. You're not just swinging around New York again, this time you get to experience the city from two perspectives, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Each character has their own unique abilities and playstyles, which keeps the action fresh and exciting no matter who you're playing as. The combat is sharper, more fluid, and just plain fun. They've refined the web-swinging mechanics to the point where it's hard to find a reason to fast travel when flying through the city feels so smooth. Plus, the new abilities, especially the symbiote powers, give Peter a more aggressive edge that changes the flow of combat in really cool ways. It's not just about dodging and countering anymore, sometimes you're unleashing full-on beatdowns. One of the best parts of Spider-Man 2 is how it nails the balance between being a superhero and handling the personal struggles of both Peter and Miles. The story dives deep into both of their lives, and it's not just about saving the day, it's about dealing with the fallout of tough decisions. The stakes feel high, not just for the city, but for the characters themselves.
You know how there have been a few nights recently where...
And of course, the villains steal the show. Venom, Kraven, and others bring a level of intensity that keeps you on your toes. Every boss fight feels distinct, and the dynamic between Peter's symbiote struggles and his relationships adds layers to the narrative. Simply put, Marvel Spider-Man 2 is the total package. Incredible combat, emotional storytelling, and a world that feels alive. It's everything a superhero game should be, and it deserved to stand out as one of the best.
Here we go.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Definitely probably being kept in the new editions pen.
Which is where exactly?
Well, we didn't quite get that far.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy was a huge surprise for me. After the mess that was Marvel's Avengers, I think a lot of people were skeptical about this game, and I totally get why. But honestly, once I jumped into it, I realized this game was something special. It's not just another superhero brawler, it's a well-crafted, story-driven adventure that puts character and heart front and center. First off, the writing is amazing. The banter between the Guardians is what really makes this game shine. It feels like you're in the middle of one of the films, but with more depth The relationships between the team are fleshed out and they grow over the course of the game. It's not just quippy jokes and one-liners, there's actual emotional weight here. Star-Lord has this whole leadership crisis going on, Gamora's trying to deal with her past, Rocket's got trust issues, and Drax, well, Drax is both hilarious and heartbreaking at times. The combat is more strategic than I expected. You're playing a Star-Lord, but you control the whole team in a way that feels natural. It's not just about shooting and punching your way through enemies. You need to think about how to use each Guardian's unique abilities to get through tougher battles, and once you get the hang of it, pulling off team combos feels super satisfying. What really caught me off guard is how good the story is. You can tell the devs weren't just aiming for a flashy, shallow experience. They dug into the Guardians lore and told a story that's funny, emotional, and at times surprisingly deep. It explores themes of family, loss, and redemption without ever feeling too heavy-handed. And there are some moments where you're genuinely moved, which isn't something I expected going in. Plus the soundtrack, absolute gold. It's packed with 80s hits that just fit so perfectly into the Guardians world. Blasting Take On Me while you're flying through space just hits different. Honestly, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy deserve more recognition. It's a game that doesn't just rely on the Marvel name, but stands out on its own as a well-written, fun, and surprisingly heartfelt adventure. If you went in expecting a typical superhero game, you'd be blown away by how much this one has to offer.
And we'll capture the monster together. Very well.
Death Stranding. Death Stranding is one of those games that leaves a lasting impression whether you love it or hate it. You're definitely going to have an opinion. For me, it's the kind of game that dares to be different, and that's exactly why it deserved a shot at Game of the Year. Hideo Kojima didn't just make a game, he crafted an experience that's so strange and unique that you almost forget you're just a guy delivering packages across post-apocalyptic America. At its core, Death Stranding is about connection. You're Sam Porter Bridges, a guy literally trying to reconnect America after this bizarre event called the Death Stranding messed everything up. The game's main gameplay loop sounds dull on paper. You're delivering cargo, setting up infrastructure, but it's oddly addicting. The terrain is your main enemy here, not some big boss fight. Every step matters, and the game makes you feel the weight of your journey, literally. Balancing cargo on your back, navigating rocky mountains, dealing with timefall rain that ages everything it touches, it's a weirdly meditative experience. And honestly, there's something super satisfying about making it to your destination, knowing you planned your route perfectly and helped rebuild society one delivery at a time. The story is classic Kojima. It's layered, confusing, and filled with enough weird sci-fi concepts to make your head spin. But at its heart, it's about humanity, what it means to connect with each other, how we deal with loss, and how we rebuild after everything falls apart. The cast is stacked too, with Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen, and Leah Seydoux giving standout performances, and while the plot gets super convoluted, it's a Kojima game after all. By the end, it all comes together in a way that's oddly emotional. Visually, Death Stranding is stunning. The landscapes are hauntingly beautiful with desolate fields, snowy mountains, and eerie beaches that make you feel truly alone in the world. But it's not all solitude, those little moments where you see another player's bridge or shelter pop up in your world, offering help without ever meeting them. That's where the game shines. You feel this sense of community even though you're technically playing alone. It's a strange kind of multiplayer where you never actually meet anyone, but you're all working together. Death Stranding might not be for everyone. It's slow, weird, and unconventional, but that's exactly why it deserved to be in the Game of the Year conversation. It's a game that challenges what we think a game should be, and it sticks with you long after you've put the controller down. Plague Tale Requiem.
Hello. Hello. I was passing
A Plague Tale Requiem is one of those games that really flies under the radar but sticks with you once you've played it. The story picks up where Innocence left off, with Amisha and Hugo trying to survive in a world that's still overrun by rats and disease. But what sets Requiem apart is how it pushes the characters into even darker, more desperate situations. Amisha is more hardened this time around, and you really feel the weight of everything she's been through. Her relationship with Hugo is the emotional core of the game. There's this constant tension as she tries to protect him while he's struggling with his own power over the rats. It's not just about sneaking around and solving puzzles anymore, it's about these kids trying to survive in a world that's falling apart. The environments are absolutely stunning, but not in that glossy. Look how pretty way everything feels grimy, oppressive, like the world itself is suffocating you. The rats, still terrifying, but now they're even more aggressive, and using Hugo's powers to control them gives the gameplay a fresh twist without feeling gimmicky. What really hits home with Requiem is the way it handles its themes of loss, fear, and survival. It's bleak, but it's also incredibly human. The story might not be as bombastic as other GOTY contenders, but it's deep, emotional, and deserves recognition for how well it pulls you into its world. Nier Automata. Nier Automata is one of those rare games that hits you hard and keeps you thinking long after the credits roll. On the surface, it's a stylish hack-and-slash action game where you control 2B, an android sent to fight against alien machines. But as you dig deeper, you realize this game is way more than just slick combat. It's a mind-bending, existential trip that explores themes like identity, purpose, and what it means to be human. The gameplay constantly shifts between different styles, from fast-paced combat to bullet hell sequences, and even platforming. It keeps things fresh, but what really stands out is the multiple playthroughs. You're not just replaying the same thing, the story evolves, offering different perspectives with each run. It's one of the only games where finishing the first playthrough is just scratching the surface.
You need to be near an access point.
What makes Nier Automata really stick with you though is its storytelling. It's emotional, philosophical, and honestly kind of depressing at times. The characters minus 2B, 9S, and a 2 are more than just androids fighting a war. You get wrapped up in their struggles, questioning their existence and the endless cycle they're caught in. It's not a game that hands you easy answers, and that's what makes it so memorable. The soundtrack, easily one of the best in gaming, no question. It perfectly captures the haunting, bittersweet vibe of the game.
Current situation. My name is Adam. The aliens you seek are no longer here.
Nier Automata isn't just a game you play, it's an experience you feel. It deserved way more recognition because of how it blended deep, meaningful storytelling with tight, creative gameplay. Truly one of a kind.
Is available for development.
Damn it.
Analysis. Hostility toward the people.
Bloodborne. Bloodborne is an absolute beast of a game, and it's wild that it didn't take home the Game of the Year title when it came out. It's from Software, so you already know what you're in for tough as nails combat, cryptic storytelling, and a world that feels alive in the most unsettling way possible. But Bloodborne isn't just another Souls game, it's faster, more aggressive, and drips with gothic horror. The combat in Bloodborne is all about staying on the offensive. Unlike the Souls games where you can hide behind a shield, here you've got to dodge, counter, and hit hard. The rally mechanic where you regain health by quickly striking back pushes you to play aggressively. And that feeling of barely surviving a brutal encounter because you just wouldn't back down, it's what makes Bloodborne so satisfying. The atmosphere is something else. Yharnam is this twisted, decaying city filled with horrific creatures, and the further you go, the more the world unravels into a nightmarish Lovecraftian horror show. There's this constant feeling of dread, like the world itself is out to get you. And the bosses? Some of the most memorable, grotesque designs I've ever seen. Fighting them feels like an event every single time. What really sets Bloodborne apart though is the mystery. The story doesn't spell anything out, but the deeper you go, the more you start piecing together this eerie tale about blood, transformation, and cosmic horror. It's a game that rewards curiosity and persistence. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake is the kind of game that takes all your nostalgia for the original and completely flips it on its head in the best way possible. This wasn't just a straightforward remake of a beloved classic, it was a reimagining that took bold risks, and honestly, that's what makes it so great. First off, the combat system is a perfect blend of real-time action and the strategic elements of the old turn-based system. It's fast, fluid, and yet still gives you that sense of control when you slow things down to issue commands. Every fight, whether it's against a lowly grunt or a massive boss, feels epic. You get to control Cloud, Tifa, Barret, and Anorith, and each one feels distinct, which keeps the gameplay fresh throughout. But what really sets FF7 Remake apart is how it handles the story. They didn't just recreate the original beat for beat, they added new layers, expanded on character backstories, and even threw in some completely unexpected twists. And I'm not just talking about small changes by the end of the game, they're hinting at something much bigger, which has fans, myself included, both excited and nervous for where the next part will go.
Can you hear me? Anyone there?
It's one of those games where, even if you've played the original 100 times, you'll still be surprised. The level of detail in Midgar is stunning. You can tell that the developers poured so much love into making the city feel alive. Every corner, every alleyway, it all feels like a real breathing place. And the characters, they're brought to life in a way that was impossible back in the 90s. The banter between the group, the emotional weight of the story, it all hits harder with these modern visuals and voice acting. FF7 Remake didn't just play it safe, it took the core of a classic and redefined it for a new generation. That's why it deserved to be Game of the Year. It's bold, it's beautiful, and it's proof that remakes can be more than just updated graphics, they can be a whole new experience.